Shalom, shalom wa ahaba, mishpaka, shalom wa ahaba. Peace and love, family, peace and love. I want to say shalom to the whole house of Israel, all 12 tribes scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, to wherever we've been driven to the land of our captivity. I would also like to say shalom to the sojourners, the Gentiles, and the foreigners, and all those who give thanks, honor, and praises to the Elohim, or God of the Bible, and his only begotten Son, Yahushua HaMashiach, to whom many of you refer to as Christ. Hallelujah. Ms. Picard, today I just want to take a quick moment to pretty much put a public service announcement out there to our brothers and sisters that may be over here in America and may not have gotten their paperwork straight in regards to being legal or naturalized citizens in this country, as well as those who may have had parents who never got their citizenship and they were born here, and on account of them being born here were considered or have considered themselves U.S. citizens under what they believe is the interpretation of the 14th Amendment and what they call birthright citizenship. And I want to share with you a Supreme Court ruling that came down here recently on a guy named Moncada, Roberto Moncada. You understand that this guy been living in America or living as a U.S. Or under the impression that he was a U.S. citizen for 70 years. But I want to read to you a part of what the Ninth District Court, which is a liberal court, Mishpachah, what was their ruling and how this was a direct hit to birthright citizenship and what we have been told or what people refer to or have called in what some would say in a derogatory manner anchor babies. They're about to put an end to that, Mishpachah, because the 14th Amendment was never intended to be interpreted that if you just cross the borders of America and drop a baby, that baby automatically becomes a U.S. citizen. That was something that was established in, I believe, the 80s, well, well after 1970. I want to say the 80s, early 80s by some court judge that put some footnote on the 14th Amendment, Mr. Picard, or the interpretation of it. It was never intended that you just being born here made you a citizen, Mr. Picard. So let me read a little bit. This is from reason.com. Reason. I don't know if you guys can see that. Reason.com. Okay. And the headline of this say, born in New York, lived in U.S. for nearly 70 years, subscribed oath of allegiance 5 times, but it turns out he isn't a U.S. citizen. Now I want to drop down to right here where it kind of gets into the meat of the matter. It says, but the government was, as the district court put it, wrong all along. In 2018, the government reviewed his records and found that Moncada's father served as an attaché, not a consul, when Moncada was born. Unlike a consul, an attaché and his family possessed full diplomatic immunity. So the government now asserted Moncada was not born subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. Therefore, he was not a birthright citizen. The government revoked Moncada's passport and told him he did not acquire U.S. citizenship by virtue of his birth here. Now, of the jurisdiction thereof, that's the part of the 14th Amendment that has a lot of people in trouble when it comes to their so-called birthright citizenship, because it says that you have to be born in the United States of America and you have to be under the jurisdiction thereof. You understand that, Mr. Picard? And it has been determined by this guy who was a attaché or whatever they called him. He was not under the jurisdiction thereof of the United States, which basically means in layman's terms that one of your parents has to be a naturalized or a citizen of the United States of America for you being born here to automatically make you a U.S. citizen. You can't have 2 illegal immigrants come over here and then have a child and then that child be an American citizen anymore. By what has been determined by this court case, you are still under the jurisdiction of the country that you came from. You are not a U.S. citizen. So you are not under the jurisdiction thereof. So being born here does not automatically make anyone a U.S. citizen, Mr. Picard. So if one of your parents was not an American, you know what I'm saying, for like our brothers and sisters from the Caribbean and from Africa or whatever who tend to look Many of them, not all. I don't want to generalize because I hate the way that they generalize stereotypes and narratives about us. So I won't generalize about all our Caribbean brothers and sisters and our African brothers and sisters. I won't say that they all have negative views of their Black American brothers and sisters, but most of them do not believe in it for the most part of having children by us because of their views of us. So for those who may have had children here and did not have them with an individual that was already a citizen, meaning that both of y'all were illegal in status and y'all had a child here, that citizenship is not honored. And I didn't think that they would do anything retroactive, but I think they have some retroactive stuff up their sleeve because this man Roberto Moncada been here 70 years and they revoked this stuff and told him that he had to get in line and reapply, Miss Picard. So they are clearing up that language because it was never intended to be interpreted the way that they have been interpreting it since the 80s. And they did that because of the political football. You understand? This country before 1970 was 80% white, 20% for the most part so-called black folks, black Americans. And those are the people that they consider foundational Americans. You understand that you got some people out here that call themselves foundational black Americans or whatever you want to call it, but foundational Americans. And the liberals, you understand that they knew that they couldn't win elections, you know what I mean, just based off of those numbers because 60 to 70% of the so-called white people in this country vote conservatively. I muck that word all up, but y'all know what I'm saying. They vote as conservatives, Miss Picard. You understand? 60 to 70% of them. So if only 30 or 40% of so-called white folks are liberals, the vote liberals, vote as liberals, they can't win elections that way. So they wanted to change the voting demographic. You understand that, Ms. Picard? This is why they say Democrats can't win without the so-called minority and black vote. They cannot. You understand that, Ms. Picard? So it was a concerted effort by the so-called Democratic Party to bring people over here and just flood, their districts with foreigners. You understand that? And that's why they are so supportive of illegal immigration. It's all about the political football. It's all about power. They do not care about people. You understand that, Ms. Picard? So with them changing up the voting demographic, they have a better chance of beating the 60 to the 70 or the majority of white folks who tend to be conservative leaning people. And that is what was done, Ms. Picard. That is why they had that fugazi interpretation of the 14th Amendment when they know that that directly applied to the children of the slaves. You understand that, Ms. Picard? The people whose family members have been here for hundreds of years, you see what I'm saying, Ms. Picard, and had a hand in building this country. You understand that? So I just wanted to send that out and let you know that these people are in the process of trying to get a grip back on their power. You understand that, Ms. Picard? And I'm hoping that our people, so-called black folks in America, don't get caught up in a lot of this foolishness that's going on out here because much of what's going on is not our fight. We need to fall back and take care of our family. You understand that, Ms. Picard? Faith, family, and finances for the future. We don't need to be out there fighting over no immigration and fighting over none of that, because none of that apply to us, Ms. Picard. If anything, it has affected us negatively. You understand that? And for our brothers and sisters out here, my Isha or my wife has a lady that does her nails or does something. You know what I'm saying? I forget what it is, but she's known the lady for it. Does her braids. I don't know. I don't know exactly what, but she told me this lady was from the Caribbean, from Jamaica, and been here 20 years and ain't got her paperwork right. You understand that, Miss Picard? That right there is about to get dealt with. And I pray that she's either married or had children by a black American or even an immigrant that has their paperwork right and is a naturalized citizen of America, because she just threw the citizenship of her children, if they were born here, in complete jeopardy, because these folks might have something retroactive up their sleeve because they're trying to get their numbers in order. And with that, Miss Picard, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. And always remember to keep the fire burning. A little more oil in my lungs. Hallelujah. Miss Picard, keep your eyes open. Stay prepared so that you don't have to get prepared. And remember that your redemption is near. Hallelujah. Kuma Yisrael. Kam Yasha'al. Rise Yisrael. Shalom. Shalom. Salam, Miss Picard. Hallelujah.